Hi and welcome back to SGTV. This is another episode as part of our Job Routes for Electricians mini-series. And today we're going to be talking to Paul Chafffers from NAPIT. So, Paul, it's good to have you back on the show, as ever.
Hiya, Ben. Yeah, it's great to be back, mate.
Yeah. And we're going to be talking to you about what you do at NAPIT. So, basically, NAPIT is an accreditation company, but I mean, it's probably best if I hand it over to you to tell us a bit about NAPIT and then also sort of how you started out in the industry to get to where you are now.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, NAPIT stands for the National Association of Professional Inspectors and Testers. So we're a certification body, but we're many things. We have many services and products and schemes we run. So we're a scheme provider for not only the competent persons schemes, what a lot of installers will be familiar with, but we've also recently got a BAFE fire domestic scheme that we run, and we do all the building fabric measures, etc. And anybody that's into the past stuff for the Green Deal type of schemes that they're on. There's so many different schemes now, and they all need to be managed and accredited by bodies such as us. So we're approved to run those, and we're audited just the same as the contractors are audited. We get audited by UCAS to see that we're compliant and we're making sure that all the boxes are ticked. And so that's mainly what NAPIT's all about. But it's been going now for probably almost 30 years, really. Been assisting predominantly people that do test and inspection work for all those years. And, quite a number of the staff, including myself, have come from that background.
So where did you start out? So did you go into an apprentice background, work on the tools, and how did it begin for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long old journey now, just over 30 years. When I was 14, actually, I started an electric motor rewind shop. I had a Saturday job there that my dad lined up. So I was used to sort of being around tools and things before I left school. I was lucky, really. It was in the days where there was a lot of big companies offering apprenticeships. So I applied to British Gas, Ford Motor Company, British Rail, and I was offered two apprenticeships, one with British Gas and one with British Rail. And I took the British Railways Board apprenticeship and haven't looked back, really. It was a fully indentured apprenticeship, but slightly different to a lot of what contractors do. A lot of contractors have done the 236, the Sitting Guilds 236, which is sort of in the booths wiring up consume units and sockets and that. Obviously, being the railways, it was Sitting Guilds 232 by memory, I think, which is electrical and electronic engineering. So the start of my journey was in manufacturing, repairing and building motors, motor alternators, motor generators. But it was a great apprenticeship because you worked your whole way around all the different places within the factories there, and out on the lines as well. A steep learning curve at the age of 16 to be around such sort of dangers and things that are going on. But great. I wouldn't change it for the world, and it's given me a really good grounding for what I went on to sort of do throughout my career, really.
So where did you go from there then? Did you go self-employed, domestic, or what did you do?
No, I went to work for a company called Drake and Skull, and we were doing planned and preventative maintenance and periodic inspections of buildings on the MOD sites. And I spent about 2 or 3 years at Aldermaston, which is the atomic weapons establishment, and also in Burfield. So started out very industrial and commercial, and then I went into ship repair and electrical contracting in Southampton, which is where I live. So we had a family engineering business, and my dad and my brother marine engineers, and I looked after the electrical contracting side, all the shoreside power generators, all that kind of stuff, temporary installations, but also carried out electrical contracting, installation works, dental practices, hotels, restaurant refurbs. So really didn't move into domestic till later on in my sort of career as a self-employed contractor. I moved into, done numerous sort of bespoke extensions and new build properties. So I'm sort of kind of fortunate to have worked in all sectors really, which is really valuable to the work I do at NAPIT, because obviously we have members from all different walks of life.
Yeah, so it sounds like you've had quite a varied background of skills, rail, marine, everything. So if we need a boat or a train fixing or anything like that, we know who to come to.
Not sure about that.
So what made you want to go to work into NAPIT then? Because I'm assuming you've gone from quite a physical, on the tools, sort of day-to-day job to where you're at NAPIT. You're obviously not sort of installing on your hands and knees in lofts and things like that. So it's probably a bit of a change. So what made you go for that?
Well, it was a massive change, really. It just kind of progressed, really. I'll tell you the story behind it. It wasn't planned. I was a NAPIT member myself, and for years and years and years, I saw the same guy. He used to come down and do my assessments, and then he moved on. And the assessor that came down actually came down from head office. He came down from Mansfield. He's one of my colleagues still today. He's a inspections manager at NAPIT. And he come down to do my assessment, and we got chatting, and he said he was down here doing a few weeks because there was a lot of members that needed seeing. And then he alluded to the fact that they were actually looking for a local inspector to look after the South Coast. I guess I must have done all right in the assessment and the work that I showed him, because at the end he asked if I'd be interested. So I said, well, put my name forward and we'll see where it goes. And a little time later, I had the head of inspections at the time phone me up and he invited me up for an interview. And it sort of just snowballed from there, really. But it was quite a good time because it was 2008 and the recession had hit. So the building works were really slowing up. And I'd let a lot, because I'd scaled down to doing smaller domestic jobs, I'd let a lot of my larger clients go. I'd started a family recently, so it was just a bit nice to be able to say, well, I'll save the pressure of, all of your contractors you got on here, that they will tell you it's not just about the being on site. You've got all the paperwork in the background, the pricing and the invoicing and the filling out the test forms and that. I was doing all of that. So it was a nice welcome change, but also it was a challenge, because I think there's certain people in life that like to progress, and I'm one of those people. I like to have a challenge, and I'd sort of been there and done quite a lot in my journey so far. It was always going to be a natural progression that I would end up heading something up, or going into teaching or whatever. And I went into assessment work with NAPIT to start with, in the early days anyway.
So is it a difficult thing to take on? Because I think most people in any industry would admit that you never stop learning. But for working for somewhere like NAPIT, you're almost this centre of knowledge. You've got to know everything, really. So is it ever a challenge to sort of keep up with that, or at the times where you just don't know the right answer and there's people in your team you can rely on?
Yeah, I mean, there's a massive team there. Fortunately for myself, the journey that I went on, I sort of had the skills and the knowledge to do when I started there as a field officer, doing electrical, and then we started assessing some other schemes. So the microgeneration came along. I had to take additional supplementary training because we were looking at heat pumps and solar thermal, unvented cylinders. So stuff that wasn't my core knowledge. I had to go ahead and upskill to be able to do that. And then the more knowledgeable you get in that, you might get given some other tasks. It's just been a gentle progression. But where I am now, I'm sitting at committee level, and I attend the committee, a lot of the committee meetings for NAPIT. I'm the deputy chairman of subcommittee B, which looks after the thermal aspects of the wiring reg. So fortunately for myself, I do have most of the answers, but if I don't, I know where to go.
Yeah, got a good team around you.
That's it.
So what is your job title, by the way, at NAPIT?
Well, I'm the technical events manager at NAPIT, and I'm the sort of first person to have that role, because how that came about is, I told you I started off as one of the inspectors. After 3 or 4 years, there was a change around, and they were looking for regional managers to look after the inspectors in each area. So I took up the role of regional inspections manager for London in the southeast. So I had about a team of 25 engineers working under me, and I would shadow visit them, support them, mentor them, recruit, take on new inspectors as and when, deal with any complaints in the area, all that sort of side of things. So quite a challenging role. But in about 2012, I attended my first ELEC show, so the national sort of contractor shows around the country. And they asked me if I would sit on the Ask the Expert IET's panel. So I represented NAPIT on the panel. There was a few others there from the other bodies, and it all went very well. And they asked me if I would attend the rest of the show. So from 2012, I've attended every single ELEC show that's ever been put on up and down the country, and I do all the sort of public speaking for NAPIT. So the problem is it was very difficult to manage the team in London when I'm all over the country doing events. So when we got busy enough, the role was created as a technical events manager, and basically I look after the technical intent of all of the seminars and webinars and things that we deliver at NAPIT, and I'm out on the road delivering most of them myself. I've got a couple of co-presenters that work with me, so it's all happy days.
Yeah, I find that really fascinating though, because I mean, one of the things, and I keep reiterating this on all of these Job Routes for Electricians mini-series, is there's so many routes you can take, and if you take a certain direction, it's not just it stops there. You don't just stop at domestic, or you don't just stop at an accreditation scheme. It can branch out within it, and like the job title you've just told me, that's almost been created based around your skills and your personality and what you've brought to the table. And that's just something I like to reiterate, that the options are endless, because things just pop up for you based on you. There's so many possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, especially for the sort of work we do, and you're doing it yourself. We're sort of public facing. We're talking to people. It's not just about your knowledge; it's about your people skills and and whether you're feeling comfortable in that environment. Fortunately for myself, one of my hobbies is I'm a musician, so most weekends I'm on stage with a microphone anyway. So it comes easy to me.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I'm gonna once this episode finishes, I'm gonna talk to you about that.
Okay.
But anyway, so do you need additional qualifications then to do what you do? Because when you've got to have your basic qualifications to be an electrician, and obviously there's all sort of add-ons and tickets you can get depending on what you're going into. But for you to be able to do what you do, were there additional qualifications?
Well, I've already explained that when we started doing the microgeneration schemes, that I did have to update and upskill for those. And at NAPIT, all of our staff have to keep their CPD up together. So from time to time, we'd get pulled in to do an emergency lighting course or a fire alarm course or whatever. So there's a lot of additional bolt-ons that I have had. Probably none of them have been mandatory. It's just been the natural progression for doing the work we do. About 5 years ago, I, off my own back, decided to do the level 4 design course. So most of our contractors are level 3, they're to a level 3 standard. And I was, when I joined, I had the level 3 2391 test and inspection, level 3 MVQ, all those things in place. The design course is a level 4. It's the next sort of step up, and it's lots of calculations, you've got to do a lengthy project, and it's quite an onerous written exam and a lengthy project that you get up to 2 years to do. Mine was to design a petrol station, the forecourts, the restaurants, everything. You do every last bit of it. You specify all the equipment, all the design criteria, and you have to list all your justifications. So I'd done that, and it kind of sharpened the pencil, if I'm honest with you, because it's years ago, you're sitting in college doing your calc. So to do that recently is sort of really outs me now when I'm doing articles, or I'm one of NAPIT's authors and we're writing the publications. Being able to have be fresh knowledge on the ball sort of thing's been really useful. But is there a requirement for extra qualifications? Depends what role you want at NAPIT, really.
And what sort of roles would there be? And not necessarily just at NAPIT, because like you said, there are other governing bodies, accreditation schemes. But what sort of roles are there generally available for at somewhere like NAPIT?
Well, there's from the inspections team, the guys that are going out and they're checking the the different schemes we've got. So if it's an electrical member, the guy has to be fully competent in electrical and have the experience to understand what he's looking at. If it's a plumbing scenario, ventilation, whatever, all of those schemes we cover, the right assessors that get sent out to the job would have to, be up to speed with all of that, which is generally most of our field officers anyway. But then we've got a technical helpline department, so will all the other bodies, and those are guys that really know their way around the wiring regulations, building regulations, and understand how to give good solid sound advice so people can keep themselves safe doing compliant work. Most bodies will have a standards department. The standards department will be looking at internal standards through to external standards that we have to meet. So quite often they're technical roles. We have guys looking at complaints from a technical point of view, investigating any issues with workmanship, things like that. So really and truthfully, it's vast. You can get, you can start with a company such as NAPIT and then, tailor it to what suits you best. If you've got, good peers around you, they'll soon seek out what you're good at and put you in that, in that position.
Yeah. Would so I mean, anyone of any age and experience really, as long as they're the right attitude, could be suitable for somewhere like NAPIT or another accreditation scheme.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we don't want to discriminate against anybody, but you do need a certain level of experience.
Yeah.
So it's not something that you can come straight out of an apprenticeship and go and do it. These guys they're turning up to assess contracting firms.
Yeah. So you need to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they've got to have enough knowledge and experience. And the same with our tutors that are in the classroom. They're delivering a course. If somebody's paid money to go on a course, they want somebody with experience delivering it. So that's a bit of a drawback. When you start to lose your hair and slow down a bit, then it's a good time to come on board.
I didn't want to put it like that. I didn't want to say for people when they're starting to come over the hill a bit, but you said it for me, so that's on you, that one.
No, really and truthfully, I'd say probably 10 years experience would be a minimum. Certainly when I was recruiting field officers, I like to look for between 15 and 20 years experience, really, because they've been on numerous jobs then, they've built up the life skills. But like I said, a lot of it to do is your people skills, because you have to deal when you go out to people's businesses, or it might be their homes, you've got to be able to put the member at ease, carry out the assessment, carry out the task, the visit, all the time representing the company, to the best way that you can. So it's not just about experience and qualification. It's just about finding the all-round sort of person. And NAPIT tends to attract very similar types of people. They're people that have been on their tools and they've done it. We've all done it. We've all run businesses, so that when we're out at the trade shows and we're talking to the members, we know what we're talking about. We're able to help them in any way, whether it's a contractual problem, whether it's a technical problem, an insurance problem, whatever. We've got a good level of understanding of that person's business.
And I think that's what a contractor will want out of a scheme like NAPIT. Is you're going to want people with experience, real industry experience, who know what they're talking about. If you're looking to them for advice, especially. So how do people get involved with working for NAPIT? Do you advertise jobs online, or is it more throughout your communication through people, that kind of your connections?
Yeah, we do. Quite often we put out posts on social media or wherever that we're hiring, and there's a place that they can they can look up. I think we've got some careers stuff on the NAPIT site. Sometimes a CV had just come through to the customer services department and they forward it to the relevant manager. So, if anybody's interested, come and have a chat. We're at all the shows. The head office is in Mansfield, but we've got regional training centres all around the country. Someone can soon meet you and, and have a chat and see if you can be of use. We're recruiting all the time because the membership is really strong now. We've got a huge amount of members, and obviously with that comes a lot more assessment, a lot more, QA work. There's a lot more training. There's rules for technical people all the time.
Yeah. What would you say you enjoy most about your position at NAPIT?
I think I like to get out and see people face to face, which has been incredibly hard with what we've all been through. But if you can go and see somebody and you can meet with them and you can provide a solution for their problem, quite often at the trade shows, I deal with the technical aspects, and that, a member will come over and he'll say, I'm really struggling with A, B, and C. And if you can deliver them an answer, they're over the moon. So they've got really good value out of their visit to your stand or your exhibition or whatever you're doing, and you've been able to help them out of a technical solution. So that's what I enjoy doing the most, really. NAPIT, over the years, we've done all sorts. There was one year I was doing about 75 exhibitions a year. So as always on the road, we do trade association events, we do our own NAPIT expos, and of which Scolmore take part in. And we do the Elex shows. We were doing the Plaza shows, which is the theatre and film and TV industry. So for the temporary power, because that's a different industry in itself. People go out there and they've got to put up a stage, or they're working in a theatre. There's not the time to deal with BS 7671. So there's another code of practice for that, BS 7909, which deals with temporary events. So we got involved in that for a number of years. So yeah, it's just great fun getting out and meeting people.
Yeah. What about challenges? Are there any parts which you find quite difficult?
Personally, myself, not really. I mean, it's a bit of a challenge always keeping up with the ever-changing regs. But fortunately, where we're sort of working on them at committee level, we're getting very familiar with what's happening before it actually comes. The documents get worked on way in advance of when they're actually published, so we get a bit of a heads up of what's coming and how we can gear up and prepare for it. And that's sort of one of my things that I try to do, is make sure that our events and the presentations we deliver really assist with that CPD of people learning the changes when the regs change, making sure that we've got presentations ready to deliver and let the contractors get up to speed relatively easily. So we'll be doing all that again. Amendment 2 is just around the corner, and we'll be gearing up to do that.
Yeah. Before we go, Paul, I want to ask your opinion to anyone watching this who they're curious about the different routes they can take as an electrician. What would be your advice on the different paths they could take?
Yeah, just to go for it, really. If it's something that they're interested in, ask questions, do your research, and don't be afraid to get stuck in, because the job is sort of, the downside for me is I loved being a Sparky. I loved being on my tools, but just a natural progression. I moved into management and moved into sort of NAPIT. But, if you love working on your tools and that's what you want to do, that's fine. But if you feel that you've got something to pass on, maybe you'd like to teach students at a college, or you'd want to go out and do some assessments and help contractors and, give that advice, come and work with me at a NAPIT event or something, then yeah, get in touch, go for it.
Yeah, and they might even see you at one of the events, no doubt.
Oh, definitely, come and say hello.
Yeah, you're not a difficult one to miss. Right then, Paul, I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for talking to our audience. And as I've mentioned before on this channel, there are loads more episodes about this Job Routes for Electricians mini-series. As I said, we'll be talking to domestic installers, commercial, industrial, agricultural, rail, lecturers, so many others. So it's all worth checking out. So please make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification button below. And we'll see you next time. And we'll see you again, Paul. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. Cheers.